Welcome everybody to the Esports Central podcast. We are on episode number 44, which is quite a lot as it turns out. I'm Axtremes, with me, Carmel and GK. We don't have Gutter Lily, we don't have Prophecy with us this week, unfortunately, but we've got an able substitute who probably can cover for both of them because he's so experienced in esports. It's DeMoNiK. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, and that is very nice. Prophecy, actually, Sean referred to me as the what was it? The Swiss Army knife of South African esports, which is a title that I've always loved.
Great title. That is so great.
For the common populace watching, the amount of shit Dickie has done and still does do is insane.
Yeah,
I've been around. I've been here and there doing one or two things.
I'm not surprised because he's part of the turtleneck gang. So as you can tell, we are
solidarity.
If you're watching the YouTube, if you're on audio, you can't tell. But Dickie and I are basically wearing turtlenecks right now. So turtleneck gang, we out here. So that's.
You guys look literally identical. I can't tell the difference between you. The only reason that I can tell the difference is because of the name it's under your boxes.
Dreads and the darker skin color, exactly the same. Totally.
I'm not even seeing that. The lighting where you are is very poor, Glenn. We've spoken about this. You said you would sort it out, and still somehow.
You should try to sell one of the Nikes, and then you can afford a lamp, Glenn.
Never. Actually, I'm gonna try to put a Nike in my light bulb and see if its beauty will radiate over me and create a beautiful complex.
So we've heard a lot of Glenn's voice. Let's hear a bit more of Carmel's voice. Are you amped for this one, Carmel?
I am so pumped. Nadia's not here, the only person in the world I fear, other than my mother, of course. So I'm ready to talk about Dota for like 45 minutes. This whole podcast, I'm just going to go on and on and on. The only reason I don't do other podcasts is because I know at some point Nadia will snap in. As Penguin ZA knows, that's not a good idea.
This is what people don't know. Gutter Lily is very sweet on the podcast when the recording's going. Occasionally she'll drop in a little bit of that wicked sense humor. But as soon as the recording's off, it's just like, whoosh,
Oh, yeah.
Dude, and, Nadia is like a Bugatti Veyron. She goes from like sweet girl to monster in like 1.5 seconds, dude. Bam, dude.
I'm going to defend Gutter Lily. I'm not defending
this is a compliment. This is a compliment. Don't get us wrong.
Oh, yes. It's very good. We like it.
Yeah. And I'm also not defending her because I'm scared of her at all. It's not at all me trying to clear my bases. I'm just objectively saying she's the greatest human being in the world. So.
Now that we got that out the way. For anybody who's new to listening, the Esports Central podcast, it's in the name. We talk about esports, opinions, our thoughts on what's going on in international esports and also in local South African esports. Been going for 44 episodes, coming up on that big 50 pretty soon, which is quite crazy to actually think. I mean, again, one of the OGs, Glenn.
The 50th episode. I mean, we have to.
Glenn.
I don't know what it is. Okay, let's do something positive.
That's positivity, if you ask me. The destroyer of esports scene.
I'll tell you what.
Esports podcast.
I'll tell you what. 50th segment. You have an entire segment on League of Legends. What's happening? The news. What's going down?
This is why I feel like I need to get input into who we bring on as guests. And yes, we all had a group discussion about it, but I feel like I have to have a greater say because I feel like this is what happens. You bring on special guests.
So
you're part of turtleneck.
Okay, so tiny little Dickie story time. DGC 2013, 2014, somewhere around there. Ooh, I used to work for Telkom Gaming, so I was around reporting. Dota teams were waiting for the final. That awaits for the other semi-final to finish. You know what the entire team was doing? They were playing League of Legends. and that's players in that team included Charles Welp, who is considered to be one of the best players in the country. So take of that what you will.
See, the interesting thing about that is we got accused a few times, actually, in some feedback of listeners that we spoke about League of Legends way too much at points. So.
Oh, really?
Yes. So.
Yeah, you hated on League of Legends a lot.
No, we spoke about it a lot in very loving terms because we had Holden ZA and Scarlett who both, Holden commentates on League of Legends.
Oh my God.
No, I was getting to you. You're still here. They're gone. They're dearly departed.
And that's why he doesn't talk about LoL anymore because he knows the boot's coming if he does. But yeah, we were like a legit news show at some point, man.
Yeah, we spoke about news for about 15 episodes, and then it sort of.
Then I joined, and then I just started throwing fucking flames like the monster I am.
As it should be, I think. I actually much prefer, personally, when I listen to podcasts, I've already read the news on DeSoto and the Score Esports and stuff like that. I don't need them to tell me. I can read. I'm more interested to know what does somebody whose opinion I'm interested in actually have to say about it. So, while
Also,
while
we were called a breakfast show, which is also great.
breakfast show,
So,
yeah, we did get
shout out
called
Brett.
that.
Thank you. That was a great. I feel like we are definitely
Dude,
a breakfast show.
I don't think I don't accept that compliment because he was you and G-Max put him in like he was just defending himself. It was like self-defense after the fucking onslaught you gave that guy Twitter. Now he's just like, okay, let me just like the Esports Central podcast, otherwise I'm going to get fucking destroyed.
It had nothing to do. Firstly, just to clarify,
That meme was funny, dude. That meme was funny. Let it go.
Okay, whatever. Point is, he commented us separately to that discussion. So anyway, point is, whatever. Shut up. Shout out to Brett. Thank you. We are definitely the breakfast club of esports in South Africa.
We just have a lot more F-bombs than a typical breakfast show, you know. We'll have to clean that up for TV one of these days, but
One day.
you never know.
You're edgy. You're an edgy breakfast show.
An edgy breakfast show that is not into edging on television.
Oh.
Anyway,
Boom.
we'll leave that in case anybody wants to Google that. Please don't.
Your slogan could be "You put the edge in esports."
Wow, that is so early 2000s,
actually not
Dickie.
Think
Okay, hold
about
on.
it.
Don't give him credit. Pretend it's lame, and he will steal it afterwards, so we don't have to pay royalties.
I think that's fantastic.
Tippies, bruh. Tippies.
So, actually, for everybody, again, maybe just to contextualize DeMoNiK a little bit more, he mentioned that he was involved with Telkom Gaming, and that was for a very long time. They became VS Gaming. He's now, his day job, his gig now is Mettlestate. You run all the tournaments for Mettlestate, right?
Yeah, I'm the operations manager there. So on the front end, I run all the tournaments. On the back end, it's all the documents, all presentations. Like I do a lot. I speak to you guys and organize you guys for tournaments and things and get you paid.
And you get shouted at as well. So whenever
all the time,
someone
I get shouted
has an
at all the
issue with
time.
Mettlestate, you are the guy that gets tagged. And whenever I see DeMoNiK in a tweet, I'm like, oh, here we go. People have said with Mettlestate. Let's see. And it's always like the dumbest reasons, but you're the guy that has to deal with it. The front line.
Yeah, exactly. I try and help in every way that I can.
And also, I mean, you have quite a bit of 10 years in esports journalist writing. When you were with Telkom Gaming, you wrote a lot of results pieces and stuff about tournaments and that sort of thing. So it's fair to say that you've been involved in all sides. You also used to play as well at one point, yeah?
So, I mean, if we're going back all to the beginning, I was a Warcraft 3 admin on the Twilight server. So for
You weren't.
years, I was
probably hated you.
from about 2005. That is true. I know. I have met Ganymede in real life. True story. Anyway, then basically 2007, 2008, we won what was then the Agasa in Dota 1, and then became MSSA. So I was in the Protea Dota team. You might want to, So I've met some people.
We'll bleep that out.
Just bleep that out because it's not cool anymore. It's not cool right now.
Just
We're
noted
trying
for
to hype
later.
you up on your resume, not like bring you down, Ovi.
Yeah, and then got a degree in music, and then after that needed to work, so ended up back at Telkom Gaming for 3-4 years as a journalist there. I think I pumped out, it was something like 3,300 articles in the time that I was there. So we did a little bit of writing on the side, let's put it that way. And then now I work for Barry at Mettlestate.
We had this friendly discussion at Mettlestate at the studios last year while we were doing Eve Tech Champions League, where I was like, holy shit, I'm writing so many articles. And then, he mentions the numbers that he's written. I only wrote 120 last year, and a lot of people tell me that that's a lot, but then there's Dickie with the 3,304 years. So, yeah.
Our mandate was 4 articles a day.
That's insane.
Oh, that is wild.
Yeah.
How is that even possible?
We were doing at one stage it was even 100. So we were doing 5 articles a day. So everything from gaming news, I did that's why I wrote all the news articles, like kept everyone up to date on everything, regularly spammed results, like got interviews with teams. It's why I sort of got to know a lot of the communities quite well. Like just because we had to write so many articles as a result, I had to go and ask people and find things to write about, right? So you had to go ask for interviews and like things like that. So as a result, end up knowing a lot of the players and still do know a lot of the players through that.
That's absolute insanity, man. Absolute insanity.
And also you got paid big bucks, obviously. I mean, each article was like minimum 3,000, 300,000 rand.
I got paid 8,000 rand a month.
Oof.
Oh, well,
That's actually, to be honest with you, that's actually better than most places. Like even in like nowadays, like literally this year.
I could work from home. So
Yeah, I feel like that is actually pretty decent for writing. I mean, look, it's a lot of articles to write for sure, but that's better than most people are paying.
if anybody goes onto VS Gaming's website and looks at the articles they have there, they must sticky because the articles are like a year old at minimum and like completely irrelevant.
Yeah, Battlefield 5 is about to be released according to the...
Oh shit! For real? I didn't know that.
Sure, who would have thought, eh?
Hey, no shade to my VS Gaming peeps. Please.
Dicky's like, these fucks want me to get hired ever again.
I still regularly speak with Infi and Mooney. Obviously, we keep in contact, especially when it comes to incidents in the community. So,
Organizing schedules and all of that.
If someone comes to me and says, "Oh, this is happening," I go to him and go, "Listen, we've had this come to our attention. It's standard friendly stuff. Like we're not. People think that for some reason like we're enemies, and that's completely untrue.
That would be way more fun, though. Let's be honest.
I mean, like if you wanted to make a movie about it, like the esports scene in South Africa coming soon.
Basically, the Social Network, but made now and about this.
Yeah, maybe.
We actually totally have to find a movie about like local ZA scene. Like it would be the most ridiculous thing, and if you want to do the scene would play out, and it would be like, that's ridiculous. That's so unrealistic. That didn't happen. And you have to show them the evidence. Be like, yes, people actually react this way about everything.
There's plenty of material to make a movie out in the scene as is. We don't need any of this spice.
So just
unneeded.
Just for context for our non-South African listeners or viewers, 8,000 Rand that you mentioned is what you were making. That's about $550 a month, which... considering what he was doing. So now let's just extrapolate it to if we were making a movie. The stakes are high. $500 on the line. It's like, okay.
So we did our trailer guy. That was actually a really good movie trailer voice, right?
Yeah, that was literally honest trailer voice.
Yeah, I can do voices. I just don't do them on broadcast because they're not called for.
No, there's always a chance for like funny. Okay, that's a dispute. Never mind.
Yeah.
Keep it going.
Anyway,
I did some voiceovers for the state, and it was hilarious doing that because I thought I sounded like terrible, but then they add some echo and they like deepen your voice a bit. And suddenly you're like,
the audio guy's your best. I've done a few VOs where they're like, no, we can't afford an actual VO. We're gonna Glenn just come in.
Nico's a god, so
I love that
to him.
We've spoken a little bit about what you've done, Mr. DeMoNiK. We've spoken a little bit about what we're going to do when we get into the world of movie voiceovers, and also we've wrecked Carmel a few times. So I think that kind of bookends the beginning of the show. Now we've got to move into the meat of it. We've got to move into some of the esports news that's happening and offer what we think about it as self-proclaimed experts. Self-proclaimed? Are we?
Love it.
Yeah, okay. I'll go with self-proclaimed. I'm a freaking expert.
Self-titled expert.
Beetle once coined me the world's most okayest Dota 2 caster. #, made it.
That's you deep. Absolutely have. You totally
Well,
have.
Beetle must remember that I am Richard 1 and he is Richard 2. So
that is a strong claim. I don't know.
That is a strong claim.
He can confirm this is a fact and has never been questioned.
I recall a Skype group where you were referred to as Big Dick and he was called Little Dick. Was that?
That is also true.
Speaking about clones, check out beautiful segue. I just want to put that out there, as long as everyone can appreciate how well I segued before I ruined my actual segue into the next topic of what we're talking about. Battle Royale, where there are a bunch of big dicks and little dicks all over. Apex obviously has become quite a big dick in the Battle Royale genre. I know, we're so bad at this. But anyways, yeah. So basically, Faceit obviously have announced a Apex Legends tournament. Obviously, Apex one of those recent ones to come into the Battle Royale scene, and it brought a lot of really cool features into it. And so yes, they kind of came to Battle Royale quite late, but the launch is really smooth. And then the features they added where you can have a command to speak to people without having to actually use your mic was made it a huge plus. So they have a tournament now. So basically it's the Faceit Pro Series Apex Legends tournament with a prize pool of $50,000. So that's nothing to laugh about at all. That is starting at the end of May. So I mean, it's pretty cool. Why I've brought a good topic worth talking about is just kind of in the sense that obviously Battle Royale. I mean, we've spoken on this podcast before, and Rich, obviously, I'm keen to get your opinion on it, but we've normally kind of shit on Battle Royale quite a bit when it comes to sort of esports.
Is that what we're not going to do now? I'm kind of disappointed.
Yeah, we need some consistency in this podcast.
I mean, we will. But what I'm saying is, though, one, I like that they're kind of taking a more balanced approach in the sense of like it's $50,000 as opposed to Epic going $100 million, the little Dr. Evil sign kind of thing. So I like the approach that they actually, for me, the reason why the price was $50,000, it means like they're actually kind of serious about it. Like they're trying to make it legitimate within esports, which again, hard to do with Battle Royale, but it's a good start for them. And I think I'm quite excited to see how Apex does do. Because I think relative to all the other Battle Royales, for me personally, having played all of them for like a fair amount, I do think that out of all of them, Apex has the best format or the best sort of gameplay mechanics to make it a more legitimate esports relative to the rest.
So we'll dive into that in a sec. Just what you were saying there about the $50,000. That's actually over 8 tournaments, so 8 tournaments of $50,000. So it feeds even more to what you're saying about potentially being more realistic, sustainable, less, shall we say, sensationalist, and possibly more something that can exist in the future.
Yeah.
So I actually have thoughts on this. One, I'm totally in defense of Battle Royale. I cast the Mettlestate PUBG League, both the Open and the Pro Series, every week. So I love PUBG. I think as an esports, it's clearly in front of everyone else. Just in terms of its spectator, the viewing experience, what custom lobbies, just things like that they've added to the game just to improve it as an esport. So like I think PUBG is killing it. Apex is really struggling. There was an article released I think a day or two ago that they're down 75% in players, like because people are getting
general player base.
Yeah, I think it was players, and it's dropped in viewer numbers to almost nothing at this point. So they're actually in a little bit of trouble because they released the game and nothing really has happened since. Like the one season pass is not enough. Like this is a really good first step, like in the right direction, right? To show cool, we are committing to Apex as an esport. You know, that it also shows us that they're going to be custom lobbies coming. If it's either going to be on Faceit, I don't know if they'll release it to the public or not, but you know, they might just keep that as an exclusive deal. But that is a good first step because it goes, oh, okay, you know, we're actually committing to this as an esport. We're not just going to keep it like the casual sort of thing that it is. So I am super excited because I love Apex. I am way better at Apex than I am at PUBG. So
it's the other way around for me. So.
But I will say, when I did come in, I actually had to review PUBG, and obviously I'd come back from the background of having played Fortnite and like enjoyed that game, and I had to review Black Ops 4, and then I was obviously through reviewing Black Ops 4, obviously played their Black Ops version. So I came from like, kind of those two very like distinctive like big hits in terms of Battle Royale. When I played PUBG, when I played the game, I genuinely was like, this is actually a really well done game. And I think in my review I actually said, in terms of being taken seriously, I felt that PUBG was the best one to take it seriously.
Exactly.
Yes. And it absolutely is. So when you said that, PUBG is doing so, I can completely see that. I'm just surprised, and I'm surprised that Apex is doing that badly from what you're saying now in terms of its statistics. Because I thought that Apex would have taken that route that sort of Fortnite did with the rest of them, where Apex is like a little bit more casual, and it has a lot better features, or a lot more friendly team environment sort of feature, more like fun features, if I can put it that way, like fun in inverted commas. I would expect Apex to have hit PUBG harder than it did, or harder than it did. Apparently it's not hitting it at all, which is quite surprising for me. So.
Yeah, it's actually been in a state of like player and viewer decline for probably a month and a half now. Like solidly, there's articles you can go back and see from the beginning of April already. So nearly 2 months where people are going, oh, is this game dead already? And it's mostly from what I've seen, reading things, guys are saying that they haven't released new content. They haven't really done anything to fix some of the issues in the game. I saw there were updates and some of the hit rate and things like that, but I think where, for instance, Fortnite holds people's attention is because there's new stuff the whole time, which of course breaks the game from a competitive point of view, but it keeps everybody playing the game. And unfortunately,
okay, so just to get clarity, Apex Legends revenue has fallen 75% since launch, and the Twitch numbers are at an all-time low.
Yeah, I'm not surprised though, because again, it's the kind of game that initially appealed to people just wanting to play something that's fun. All the streamers were playing it; they were all involved. I'd imagine probably some of them were given some incentive, shall we say, to be streaming those games in the first place. So, just the sustainability hasn't been there, and they haven't released new stuff, which I can understand they wouldn't have done because it's not the kind of game that necessarily you could drop hats and things into that are going to make people play it. Unlike Fortnite, where you can drop in a new item all the time. So it's just interesting to see where it's at. I do think what something we were talking about off air that's quite interesting. The fact that Faceit is involved with this is quite cool. It's probably going to get people a little bit more interested. There's going to be maybe some somewhat of a competitive ecosystem, because right when the game was out, it was out for a week and already big orgs were picking up Apex Legend pro players, and it's like, dude, you haven't even been playing the game for a week. Now you're a pro player. What the hell? There aren't even tournaments, but that's how it is. When something's popular, they pick up players. Now there's actually something for them to play, which is great. But we were mentioning Battalion 1944 beforehand, where they've actually launched the game now out of early access last Thursday to include their matchmaking basically is Faceit, right, Dickie?
So I was actually keeping a tab on this when they first announced that they're going to be partnering with Faceit. I immediately went to Steam charts, went and checked the active number of players, and then it was at, I think it was at something 200. I think it was 216. Something dismally low. Like not a game that you would think would be going on to Faceit. So I was like, cool, I'd be interested to see how it grows. And then I checked actually today. Just happened to go and check, and it's already up to 4,000 active players, and that was in the morning. So that shows how much of a boost something like that being on the Faceit platform can give to a game. I'm expecting those numbers to continue rising actually over the next sort of week or two, just as more people sort of get onto the platform, become aware of it, and just start playing. Even Robbie from Sows and Lions, I think, mentioned that it may be coming to South Africa, because it did have South African servers in early access.
Yeah, it did.
And everyone knows local servers is the way to the future.
100%.
Every game that comes out, there's always 3 days, and you get a petition from some idiot. I'm calling you all an idiot. Yes.
Oh, okay, we won't go there. We've spoken about this before. But I did want to back up what DeMoNiK was saying about the local player base. I was one of the guys playing Battalion 1944 when it came out. And about 3 months ago, I thought to myself, this has been in early access for a while. Let me open the game and go and see if I can find a game. There was not one active game, and it was like on a Saturday, late afternoon, like 4 o'clock or whatever. So America was already awake on the East Coast. So it couldn't have been anything. There were no games, not one single active game on international servers. So I was like, okay, well, I just uninstalled it then. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to play this again.
Okay, what was the game that they released? Mirage or some sorcerer's battle, but like Crusader battle, but it was like the sorcerer version, and they released it for free on Steam because no one was playing. Literally launched the game, I booted it, tried to play a game, couldn't connect to the server. I was like, cool, delete, done. Thanks for your time.
But what I do find so interesting, especially in the Battle Royale genre, is, and to that point, as you're saying, Axe, like you have to bring new content so fast. Like you really have to bring it really fast. I mean, like Apex's launch is arguably one of the best launches we've had in the last couple of years.
I think where Apex really. Oh, sorry to cut you off.
But basically, what I wanted to say is basically, like, I mean, the launch was like a very smooth launch. The servers kind of worked well. Yeah, there were a few drops now and then, but it was like a complete disaster. Like it was a good launch. The game was done well. It was obviously they had taken time to polish a lot of it. They brought in new features. So the game, when it came in, was like a really big hit, and everyone really loved it. But to your point, they haven't brought anything new. There's nothing like something that's been drastic and brought in a new chain. Whereas you look at Fortnite, I mean, every other week they kind of bring in new things. I actually had to end up deleting the game because like my PlayStation would be downloading 20 gig updates like almost every week, which I was like,
My life in PUBG at the moment. I haven't played it in months, and it's just downloading this massive update every second week.
But that's the thing. They both PUBG and I mean that was the big issue with PUBG is that they actually weren't updating as fast as Fortnite was, and that's why they're losing a lot of the player base. So it's quite interesting for me to just see that being Battle Royale being sort of genre that really want to get into esports, and we've spoken about it in the past where if you keep updating the game too quickly, you're hurting your pro players. But it seems to be that with Battle Royale, if you're not updating constantly and bringing in new things, you're going to get left behind. And based on what Rich is saying in terms of the stats around Apex, its launch was incredible, and everyone gave it mad props for it. But the fact that it's currently losing players and losing viewership because they haven't done anything new or drastic or brought in new maps or new guns, any of those things, that just goes to show Battle Royale apparently has a very different dynamic to kind of the rest of esports, which makes it really interesting to see how games and developers will adapt to the Battle Royale esports genre.
I mean, you can even think about it this way, and the Apex players even say it, like the Apex streamers even say it. Apex is boring to watch unless the guy's getting 20 to 25 kills a game and absolutely popping off. Like, it's mostly just people running around and maybe a shots like every now and then, right? It's from the first person perspective, it's not that entertaining to watch. It's just that simple. Like, so you need to spice it up. But like PUBG's been brilliant with that. Like their esports observer mode, you can get X-rays, you can get shots, you can put on team logos, it's come so far, and it's still a bit finicky. But like even Fortnite doesn't have that spectator mode going for it yet, where we can put people down in a server. Put them down in a custom server. We've got 2 casters and an observer, and we can go. It's not on that esports stage level yet at all. PUBG, we could feasibly do that in a setting because you have custom servers, you have all the rest of it, and it's also constantly adding content and optimizing its. Most importantly, optimizing its game. If you play the game now compared to if you played it 6 months ago, it's so much smoother, even on my ancient rig. So they're doing like pumping everything they can to make sure that it's actually an esport that's viable. And if you've watched any of the invitational stuff in the Pro Series and the things that are happening, or like even the stuff that Vinco Gaming, who's currently representing us overseas and doing pretty well, esports, PUBG is way better to watch as a battle royale than almost all the others combined.
Yeah, I'm
converted. I'm going to go watch it immediately after this broadcast. Well, actually,
my PUBG team will be watching this, so holla at my boys.
I'm actually genuinely interested in what you're saying, though, because it is good to hear. Because when the very first PUBG tournaments came out, that Berlin Invitational that they had, and all of those sort of events, that ESL event last year, it was horrendous. It was terrible. I'm really glad. I haven't given it another chance in the last couple months. I watched some stuff in probably February, and there was still a few little niggles, but it's interesting what you're saying. I'm keen to check it out because I see a lot of people that are involved in PUBG talking about how good it is to watch. So I'm actually keen to check it out. So thank you. You have converted me there. I will report back on my findings.
No problem. Come watch the Mettlestate Pro and Open Series casted.
When is it on?
Myself, Godfather, and then myself and Batman every Tuesday and Thursday. Actually, we're currently in season break, so it'll only be starting in June. But come watch in June.
Okay, well, once I'm done with ESL SEC, sure, because we're on every Monday and Thursday, so same issue. Podcast recordings on Tuesdays. I'm sorry. Anyway, we shall move on. So I think let's hit something else that could be interesting, since we like to bag on Overwatch League because it's just so much fun to bag on. It's great. We'll talk about Overwatch League again. And if you're tired of hearing about Overwatch League, we're not. So that's really where it's at, guys. So the news last week, and here's a piece from Richard Lewis on the Deserto site, but it was news a couple days before that. Nate Nanzer, the commissioner of the Overwatch League, is joining Epic Games' esports team, which is quite interesting. He's been the sort of chief evangelism officer, so to speak, of the Overwatch League. He's credited with a lot of the actual marketing behind it, getting brands involved. Like, some people have called him almost a magician in that space, and getting big brands invested in it and interested in it. And his name has great alliteration in it too, so I'll have to give him that. But what does this mean for
Hold
Overwatch League?
on. Don't give props to him. Okay, he didn't name himself. Give props to his parents. Okay, they clearly decided, cool, Nate Nanzer. Give props to the parents. Don't give him credit.
Okay, yes. Credit removed, rescinded. Absolutely rescinded. So this
Look,
piece...
it's interesting. I mean, and we're known for it. We've been called out about it as well. Called out. People have complained about it. We shouldn't Overwatch a lot. We do. And I think there's always good reasons. And as I say, there absolutely is good reason as to why we feel the way we do about Overwatch. The way that they try to build the league was like very unorganic or inorganic. I don't even know how non-organic.
That's no issue with it.
But having said that, the thing is, one of the big things we did highlight in the past was the amount of money that Blizzard sort of asked upfront was already kind of a big flag for us. Secondly, the fact that how many players, like professional players, have left to go, I don't want to do this. I want to go stream instead. And now, thirdly, you have your games, like your commissioner, leaving mid-season. Like, it's not like this is planned or like, hey...
But it's not just leaving, though. It's leaving to go work for Epic. So, I mean that's a huge flag. Let's just think about the context of this. So, Overwatch League has the most money, is the most successful, is the greatest. You know, that's kind of how it's spoken up. And he's one of those people who's done it. And I was like, okay, peace. and off he goes. Mid-season, not waiting till the end of the season. He's, as of the 24th of May, he's gone. He's absolutely gone. So we're talking about him moving to potentially handle Fortnite, and now with Epic acquiring Rocket League, you know, he would be evangelizing Rocket League. So if this guy's as good as he is, which I think he actually is, honestly, looking at the kind of sponsorships that Overwatch League has landed, like Coca-Cola, Toyota, and these sorts of things, and the fact that they're charging up to $60 million for a franchise, and people are actually paying that, he's freaking good at his job. So we were saying something like Rocket League, it just needs a kick in the butt to get going, because it is actually a very appealing product as an esport. It's just never seemed to quite get there. Somebody like this could definitely do that. And our misgivings about Fortnite, somebody like this could probably smooth some of those over. Now, let's also be clear on this. He's often smoothed things over from a PR point of view, but they haven't actually changed anything in the game. So don't expect custom lobbies in Fortnite because Nate Nanzer's there. But certainly it'll look a lot shinier, which I think is a big positive for Epic. What does this mean? Also, I think it means that Epic's got more money than Blizzard right now. That's straight up where it's at, guys.
I'm not even surprised. And yeah, it could mean we could see Coca-Cola skins as well on Fortnite characters, you know? But I mean, there's the big topic around the esports bubble, right? But I think, like, many people have already stated that if Overwatch League has to fail, if the Overwatch League has to blow up and fail, it will have catastrophic effects on the rest of the esports scene, because Overwatch League is like the first real mainstream attempt at esports. Yes, I know League of Legends has franchising and shit,
disagree with that,
but the level of scale in the Overwatch League is way bigger, in my opinion.
CGS was
Overwatch is not going to have repercussions in the rest of the fucking league. And when I said the rest of esports, I 100% disagree with that. I think that is like a marketing spin that they've done by going, oh yeah, we have teams that are based on traditional esports, traditional sports leagues, and they're all based on different cities or whatever. Fuck off. Overwatch. If Overwatch died tomorrow, there is absolutely no one else would feel shit about it. No one would give a fuck. And I'm going to be very explicit about it, because I'm telling you that whole discussion.
That's what you think. Yeah. But it depends on the model of the game. A game like Dota 2 is not affected by that, because they monetize themselves with fucking But your game, League of Legends, would get fucked because it's the same model.
I do think it would affect other games, but not in the sense of the game. It's going to affect people in terms of the money that sponsors would be willing to involve.
I disagree. I think the people that jumped into Overwatch, if you're going to spend $40
it's not
million,
about the game, Glenn.
Okay, hold on.
What is your monetization method for League of Legends franchising? Please tell me.
Here's the thing: League of Legends literally just got sponsors that re-signed with the league, because we looked at what we did this past couple of years. We clearly had some ROI from it. We're gonna go re-sign with you. That's what's gonna happen. That's what happened. League of Legends had a sponsor re-sign. My issue is the kind of people that are gonna go into an Overwatch League, or to the same, to a similar degree, the Call of Duty League, that are gonna go and
for the Riot Overwatch League. I mean, League of Legends, fuck.
Yeah. To me, I feel that like League of Legends has proven its worth over the years. I think to me that
Spoken like a defender of the faith there, Glenn.
I'll be the first one to shit on Riot Games when they screw up, and I've done it before. But all I'm saying is I feel that like if Overwatch were to fail, I think that it would not affect the rest of the esports as much as it would. I really don't think it would have that much of an impact. I think the kind of people that are sitting in League of Legends and have put money into there, and that's what that's where they're spending money on. They have a very clear view of what they're trying to do. And Riot Games is very specific about who they wanted to bring in. So, hence why, and that's a lot of speculation. So now
they have great owners like the Echo Fox owners there, right?
All I'm saying is though, Immortals got kicked out. Immortals didn't get accepted, despite having the team that had one of the best regular season stats in the history of in LCS. Immortals wasn't accepted. Why? Riot went, you've bought into Overwatch. We don't want to bring that level of risk into our franchise. That is petty and
stupid. This is the point I'm trying to make. You making my point for me.
Wait, guys. Let's put this one on ice. Let's finish quickly and on the one thing. We're literally coming back to this now, but the problem is, for the sake of timestamps, we need to actually stay where we were for 1 second. So, where we were was Nate Nanzer leaving the Overwatch League, the commissioner gone. Yeah. Go over to deserto.com and actually read the Richard Lewis piece. He explains some of the bits of interest about that and why that might actually be a big thing. And we've covered some of it here. And of course, if you are sensitive to somebody who's mean towards Overwatch, don't read the piece, basically. So if you're a sensitive reader, avert your eyes to, because of course he's going to say that, you're going to have to console yourself with the news with some, Overwatch hentai. So, that's just how it's going to be.
He did not.
He did.
I will say, Overwatch.
I can absolutely
Can I add just 10 seconds worth of? I kind of agree with what Glenn says. Purely, just because the franchise model of Overwatch is a hard to sell model as is not workable in 99.9% of esports. If it fails, it will just basically prove that that franchise model that they use in American football things is not a viable way to do esports, and most esports will just carry on as is because they don't follow that model to begin with. Like the viewers are still there, the sponsors are still there.
Well, you're very right about that, because I think we all think that the system is unsustainable, and that actually leads us really nicely on to the next thing that we're talking about, which is the Kotaku piece about it's called Shady Numbers and Bad Business Inside the Esports Bubble, which a lot of people have been talking about. So let's talk around this, maybe not necessarily about the piece, but what you're mentioning there. I think that is everybody's worry about Overwatch League, in the sense that it's a model that probably is doomed to fail, based on the fact that you're trying to regionalize something that is not constrained by borders. That's the beauty of esports. You can, engage in a fan base, in a fandom, and not be from the country and not have anything to do with them. Teams are multinational now in a lot of esports. So why would you want to make it to the Houston this or the, Los Angeles that? I know it's the Valiant and the Outlaws, by the way. So in case you guys are wondering,
London Fire.
Yeah, but for the sake of making a point, the thing is, of course, in Overwatch League now, with Blizzard, they're trying to now apply that model to Call of Duty World League. That's happening as well. So now we're talking two esports linked to one of the biggest companies and gaming companies in the world. That if they tank, then it takes down a whole lot. It's not just Overwatch League; it's Call of Duty World League as well, but. Linked to that, you said the sponsors might stay where they are, and that's an interesting one to me, because I don't think that they would. I know the model is different, but to a big sponsor, if the thing that you loosely understand is esports, you're just a 60+ white man with in a very nice suit, you don't really understand the difference between this, that, or the other. You're just going, I threw my money at esports, I'm a venture capitalist, and it died. So. Would that not? Don't you think that would hit investor confidence if you'd invested tens of millions and it just sort of goes into the ether?
I mean, there's always that risk factor with any esports, right? It's just a high risk business as is. You don't know if something's going to work or not. You know, you may get a sponsorship from Papa John's for a Dota tournament. It may turn into one of the biggest memes of all time. Like, this is not something that you could ever predict, or like, which I love that tournament, just slightly for the record. So, I mean, like, yes and no. Like, as someone that sells esports on a regular basis, the way that it's our job to make them understand, right? As a 60-year-old white man throwing his money at esports, that perhaps a franchise model is not the good way to go forward. It's on us to make sure that he makes a good like investment to begin with. And there are plenty of people out there that can sell. I mean, ESL are killing it at the moment on all fronts. Like, so I think esports will be just fine.
Okay. Where do you fall on this, Carmel? Because you seem to have some strong opinions there.
I think there's a reason why guys like Nate, cool name, Nanzer, whatever his surname is, are important. Because, again, like, the 60-year-old white dude doesn't give a fuck about these mobile shit and like PC guns and stuff. So you have somebody there to make them understand, right? And that's what Nate does. He goes to Coca-Cola and says, you can put your fucking logo on the floor of our game and 600,000 people are going to watch it. And they're like, whoa, that's pretty awesome, man. So when you do that and you get the likes of Toyota, Coca-Cola, whatever, jumping on your brand and it fucks up, I think it's a bad look. I think if you investing into ESL and it fails, I think it's a reflection onto the scene, not a reflection on ESL, because I think when ESL do a job, it's a good fucking job. But I think when you have Overwatch League and people are dropping rumored between 60 and 120 million or whatever to invest to buy slots there, you're making these big sales, putting it on Disney Channel and shit, and it blows up, it's a bad look. I will stand by that.
So we do have a historical precedent for this as well, because there was something called the CGS started in 2005, went until 2008. And that was something a lot of people saying esports was in a bubble at that point, and it died because of that. And in some senses it did. 3 years of a like reality show / tournament thing happening in different games all simultaneously wasn't sustainable. And you can kind of see when you're spending like almost $2 million a month on salaries and stuff as a broadcast company doing it. And it also happened right before the financial collapse in 2009. So a lot of people say that set esports back very negatively because of what happened. But esports is more developed than it was at that point. Certainly we're at a much higher point now than then. But there is the possibility, something blowing up could potentially negatively affect us. Now, if we look at this Kotaku piece, which a lot of people have been talking about, it's very, very long. First off, it's the same person, Cecilia D'Anastasio, who wrote the expose on the systemic sexism within Riot. But you can see it's a very long piece. I think the overall point of the piece is pretty on point in a lot of spaces, just explaining how the perception of how big esports is perhaps slightly off the mark in some ways. But it also goes to a lot of lengths of trying to sort of establish things as fact that are really based on more hearsay of like, here's 2 examples that are vaguely similar, therefore this is actually what must be going on. We don't have concrete statistics in a lot of what's mentioned, and everybody knows Newzoo is complete bullshit, so trying to quote that as well is it's just not furthering the argument. There's a really nice piece from a guy called actually Lurpus on Twitter, Tommy, who's the he's the vice president of gaming or something at Immortals. So he speaks about it in some depth. He's an investment banker, and obviously
you have to like sort of slug through all these anti-Tesla.
Slug through all the anti-Tesla stuff.
Before you get the gaming stuff.
But it's worth looking at for sort of a counterpoint. If you're looking for a counterpoint to the piece and you actually have the patience to read the whole thing, I think it overall makes some good points. But maybe is off the mark in others. Let's not go into detail. But what we are talking about as an overall sort of thing is, we were mentioning is Overwatch League something that could take down esports? Well, let's extrapolate it further. Is esports a bubble, guys, or is it about to pop, or we all about to be out of a job?
Let me go before Glenn starts, okay?
You can see him revving up.
I think the article itself is good at highlighting the greater issue of the esports bubble, but I feel like the term esports kind of bottles our thinking, because every game has different monetization methods, right? Like I was talking about Overwatch League. If it fucks up, it has effects on the greater scene. But Fortnite wouldn't give a shit. They don't need some grand-ass tournaments. They just sell hats to kids. That game will be successful till the hats become boring, right? Dota is the same thing. It doesn't matter if the rest of the Dota scene dies. Valve will always have the hats in TI, so they'll be monetized in a way. But I think... So I feel like it doesn't address that there's different monetization methods for all these companies and different esports. But I think on the grand scheme of things, Cecilia does like open our eyes that there's a lot of bullshit, which I think esports insiders already know, but I think for the greater populace, it is a useful article in that sense. So credit to her. Go, Glenn. Shout us.
Like, so I mean, those are good. Those are points I absolutely do agree with, 100%. But I think to me, whenever people sort of mention, I know it's a shock. I think maybe I'm drunk. I don't know. Maybe
How many beers have you had? Are you already getting on that new company?
It's the power of the turtleneck, you know.
I feel like Kami just dropped roofies in my drinks when I wasn't looking. Maybe just drove over here, dropped them in, and then left, and that's why I agree.
And when he passes out, I'm going to go and steal his stickers.
Wow. But no, look, I mean, in all seriousness, I think that whenever people talk about an esports bubble, it's weird because I mean there was always obviously the .com bubble, and that's what like the term the bubble. I mean the .com bubble really solidified what that meant and kind of the repercussions of it. And I don't think we've ever really seen another bubble that was as significant as that, really, in that sense. I mean, I know, you can obviously talk about sort of the housing crash, but that wasn't so much of a bubble as it was just, sort of corporate greed and bad regulations. So when I look at the esports bubble and people talk about that, I don't think it's so much a bubble as like everything sort of fall apart. I think that everything's just sort of getting to the point where it's being overvalued, but it's going to rectify in a more sort of restrained way. And I think the best example of that is like if you look at the South African model, like right now, if you look at South African esports, a couple of years back, not even like maybe like last year before that, I mean, we had like $1 million tournament, like $1 million rand, sorry.
If only, geez, I would have retired.
Not even that, not there. But we had like $1 million rand tournaments. I mean, those are the prices. It was like literally $1 million, if not over $1 million. Like those are the kind of prices we were talking about.
Yeah, I think the peak was games. That ESL Africa season 2. I think it was 1.7 million.
Yeah, with this one, I mean, like, so that is. I mean, we went there and it was like huge. And we went, oh man, and you could see all the articles being written about like esports is blowing up, and South Africa is going to find its rightful place in the global scheme of esports. Where are we right now? We're looking at like 6 figures if we're lucky.
Yeah, but South Africans were fucking idiots. I'm just going to put that out there.
No.
I was one of them, but I'm just going to put that out there.
But so I'm not shitting on the scene at all. What I'm saying is we started off getting... We ran away. We had 7 figures, right? We had like 1.7 million rand worth prize pools. We've now gone all the way right back because we finally realized, because brands have finally realized how much they can actually put in and what they're going to get out of it. I still think we're above what we're supposed to be getting. If you look at ROI, if you look at kind of the viewership we have, if you look at like the level of influence that players have and talent, when we don't even deserve the amount of prize we're getting right now, but whatever, that's where we are right now. So what I'm saying,
out for you, Glenn. People are coming for you, bro.
Destroying esports in here.
I mean, I've been given that title for years now. But I just think, the point I'm saying is, that, long story short, when I look at the esports bubble, I think that everything's really exciting and everything was really cool and brands really threw money into it. But to get that like repeat business, that's a difficult thing to do. So when I mentioned that, like NALCS with like Riot, they got repeat business. A sponsor went, you know what? That was a dope season. Let's do it again. That is a huge achievement. That is a massive achievement. To be fair, we won't know how much that sponsor is going to give this coming season. They might give less. They might go, yes, we're going to renew, but it's going to be a bit less than last time. But I just think when people got esports bubble, I think everyone got hyped because they realized there's like a really bunch of engaged millennials and Gen YouTubers and all of that. Like there's an engaged market, but people have come to realize you can't just throw $1 million prize pool at a tournament because you don't know if you can actually get that ROI back.
So what you're saying is that it's not as interconnected as people think, but it is somewhat interconnected. So we can find some middle ground. Yeah.
So ambiguous. Yes, let's go with that ambiguous answer.
Actually, I'm fine with disagreeing with you. Fuck you, Glenn.
I mean, before we let the actual tournament organizer representative speak, I just want to say, like,
sure, you keep stopping him, eh? The poor guy is just like a silent witness.
I'm building him up. Yeah, I'm building him up. Okay, you're making me feel bad, because there was that whole.
Bad.
Okay, let me just make my point. Okay, I think the problem with esports is it like gets sold as like as big as Fortnite is. Fortnite is a global phenomenon. Ed fucking Sheeran at his concert was talking about Fortnite with his cousin, right? I know I had my conspiracy theory that Epic Games is just paying off famous people to mention their game. But at this point, even I'm convinced that this thing is the most popular thing in the whole world. I might fucking hate it, but Fortnite is the biggest thing ever.
It's only on the train 6 months late.
To how big esports is. Esports is like big for the people who care about it. So I think that gaming and esports thing, I've said it multiple podcasts, need to get separated. It's not the same fucking thing. But
it's
please,
market specific though. It's not a thing about whether esports is big or not. Learn your market.
It's not about big or not. It's about like the way Overwatch League's brand commissioner was going to Toyota. He was like, "Look at me, man! I'm getting $60 million. These guys are buying the things. Put your Toyota logo there, and it could work." I'm not going to shit on it. I don't know if the teams are making money or not. But at the same time, if it doesn't work, it's like, well, that's a bit of an effort.
Esports in the West is not as big as the people pretend it to be. It's not. It's shit. It's garbage. When you look at Asia and you look at Korea, so China specifically, you look at South Korea, that is a legitimate thing. It's part of the culture of it all. It's a huge thing. It's real. I think that we keep forgetting that. I think we keep going, esports is going to go so big. And you look at like SK Telecom, which is basically the equivalent like locally of like the Telcom, deliberately sponsoring a team, paying upwards of R1 million minimum to keep one of their star players. That's a different culture. And I think that the West forgets about that a lot. Like, yes, everyone goes, North America has a lot of money. But again, America is capitalism. So they just go, cool, this is like a really new thing and it's shiny. Let's throw money at it for the last couple of years. Luckily for us in South Africa, brands did it for a year. And after a year went, this is bullshit. This is dumb. Why are we doing this? And then they brought it back. America could potentially get to that point. That's why I believe the bubble can be a real thing. I think American brands will eventually get to the point where they go, yeah, we're all about capitalism and spending money makes you money, but they're going to go...
So in this Kotaku piece, it actually mentions how she reached out to a bunch of orgs and asked them, are you making a profit or not? And generally the ones that would answer, although they wouldn't go on record on the numbers, nobody that they know of is. So, but I think that's pretty common knowledge for a lot of people, even tournament organizers for the most part, even internationally, ESL, like they do make a profit, but it's very small. DreamHack losing money, a lot of the guys are losing money.
You're going to give us the juice on the balance sheets.
So Dickie, where do you fall on this?
No, could you?
So even even in a local space, we've had people come to us and they were like, we've been given these numbers, and we look at them and they go, no, these aren't even way over the top, like way over the top numbers of tournaments that like numbers that we can't even, I don't even think they're that amount of gamers in South Africa. Like, so it's one of the things that like we try to do at Mettlestate is we keep it real with all of our clients and who we speak to, in that there was this bubble. I think South African esports has gone through multiple bubbles, and we're sort of going through now a transition phase, I would say, at the moment, to a new place where don't know where that's going to be yet, but it's sort of it's happening because it's exactly that. We had all those years of big tournaments, year on year, and now it's like it's getting a little bit less, right? So, I mean, the Comic-Con was the focus of VS Gaming's championships, not VS Gaming, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? All advertising was not for the VS Gaming championships. There weren't big billboards and stuff. It was all for Comic-Con. Like that alone is a transition in itself. For us, we don't. There was that R1 million tournament that Mettlestate started off. I wasn't involved with Mettlestate at the time, but they started off with that R1 million tournament. But our tournaments are, I would say, fairly small for the most part, because we know that model is not sustainable. It's not a sustainable model that works. That's why our league structures are offering just a little bit of money. 10,000 rand on a esports scale is nothing when you've got like $25 million tournaments, but at least it's something. It's something for the gamers to play for every month or every season, which is like every six weeks. And that's a good starting point, because, then we can get the gamers. I can tell you that our engagement from a social media perspective is actually really high compared to most other markets. I mean, we're sitting at the 8 to 10% mark. For social media experts, you generally sit at a 0.3 is the industry standard, right, for your social media interaction, and that's also because we always try and get the community to engage with us. And it's one of the things that we're always open to be spoken to get suggestions. My door is always open, and people come to me. I mean, all three people that I'm speaking to currently have spoken to me at some point about one thing or another. So, we try have that engagement with
Richard, can you would you care to confirm or deny these allegations? That's the kind of thing me and Glenn bring to you, right?
That was a movie voice right there, and I loved it.
So I would so locally it's the bubble. I would say the bubble's already popped. We're now in a different space, and we're moving towards a different space, especially with stuff like Ikasi and the Ikasi Fest that's coming up. Yeah. I mean, drama from that aside, that's an amazing initiative by the guys out there.
So
and I really respect
space,
it. So it's
would you say that we're moving to a more realistic space, so as opposed to kind of the big dreams we have? Would you say then, coming from you being part of like an organization like Mettlestate, would you then say we're moving to a more realistic and more sustainable space, or do you think we're going to going to the trash #dead game kind of shit?
No, 100%. We're going towards a more realistic space, because as you said, if you want repeat business, you can't oversell this. It's so important. You can't oversell esports, because that's the thing. They come back and you give them your numbers and they go, "You promised us this. We're not coming back." End of story. Yeah. That's a brand, and in some cases, major brands that have been burnt like that won't come back. So you have to, if you want esports to succeed, I would say this: if you want esports to succeed, you have to keep it real. Yeah. Like we can't. People that are overselling it are only doing the industry itself an injustice at the end of the day.
Out of context, that just sounds so stupid, though. Like, if I had to put it in text, it's like, if you want esports to succeed, keep it real.
Keep it real.
Don't do drugs, kids.
And I'm going to say this.
I was moved by that
speech, real, by the way. But that's the thing. It sounds so fucking obvious, but very few people do keep it real.
Exactly. He's right.
And we've called out articles in the past, even on this podcast. We have called out articles in the past that go, esports is blowing up and blah, blah, blah. And there was a recent article that also had that headline. And again, I'm going to fucking...
No, I'm going to mention it. There was that thing from Financial Mail where it actually has one of the subheadings, South African publication, where it says, "Show me the money." It's like, who is this journalist and why is he so freaking ignorant?
So we're all laughing here going, that's obvious. But the reality is, a lot of people are still writing, they're writing that. And there's been a bunch of people as well that have backpedaled, that have gone, esports is blowing up, and they backfilled it and went, okay, actually it's not really blowing.
See, I don't even think people remember the first esports bubble in South Africa, which was, there was a tournament at Rotanga Junction. I'm not sure if it was Arena 77 or it might have been some other company, like a 2006, 2007, somewhere around there, that the Oak walked away with. He took all the prizes and he moved to the UK or somewhere in Europe and was never seen from again. Like that stopped tournaments. That stopped big tournaments for like a year after that. No one was willing to touch the stuff because they're like, you're just going to walk away with our things. No, you see, I remember things.
It is true. And I'll be the first also to say, I mean, I've written articles, so I went like, take gaming seriously. Like, and then I've dropped there's things. So I'll be the first to admit, like, I also got swept up in the hype about it all. But I feel like in the last 2 years at least, we've all come to the realization that, yes, there was a lot of hype sort of coming into esports, specifically locally. And I mean, we're going to get into local esports later, but nowadays, like, when people globally are talking about an esports bubble and giving their versions, why there's a risk for it. We need to take note of that because one, South Africa, for whatever reason, we still feel the need to emulate global scenes. But if that global scene is saying there's a bubble, and I'm speculating here, but I will say a lot of those reasons is what brands like Blizzard and them are doing, where they just go throw money, set up a thing, like pretend like it's been growing for years and years. Unlike you look at Dota, you look at League of Legends, you look at CS:GO, where those grew organically. You're now seeing scenes like Fortnite, and I'm going to put them in the fucking same league. You look at Fortnite, look at Call of Duty, you look at Overwatch, they're throwing money into trying to create the same scenes that are already established. But what they don't understand is those became organic. Because a lot of people will fight it. Like a lot of people crash and burn, trying to create the same things that happened in those. And I feel like now we've got to because there's so much money around, there's so much hype, and you see Fortnite bring in mainstream dancing.
Okay, you bringing up Fortnite again. I want to correct you there. Fortnite don't care about esports team. That was $100 million marketing budget. Think about how many engagements they got from putting that fucking tagline. They don't even give a shit if the games are trash. It's not about sponsors. It's about people buying hats in the game, my dude. That company is so fucking rich, dude. You have no idea, dude. Ed Sheeran, fucking Antoine Griezmann, all these guys, kids are playing. Drake Fortnite is the greatest thing ever. I'm telling you, dude.
Did Carmel just say Fortnite?
It's the greatest marketing scheme I've seen in my life, dude. Epic game gods, dude.
So, Carmel, is it fair to say that you're going to start casting that because Dota did game, right?
Not a fuck. I think the game is like, I couldn't give a shit about it, but like, what Epic have done is like, it blows my mind, dude. Like, I've never seen something like this. It's like, I think it's the equivalent of like giving Michael Jordan a Nike shoe with fucking the Jordan symbol. That's how crazy I think the marketing is.
You see, it's one thing for your game to explode, right? It's two to be able to literally control that explosion, which is something that Epic Games have done incredibly well. If you think about it, they had that Epic Game Store and it was literally just Fortnite. They've now since launched a whole just outside of everything else, right? They launched a whole store. They shut down all of their assets that weren't making them money. Paragon, things that we can't even remember.
Unreal Tournament Review.
Yeah.
Got rid of it. Put the resources where you are going to turn your company. You pivot from just a game developer into an actual publisher, since you have the Unreal Engine at your disposal. You have that technology already. Pivot into an actual store. Do something that the industry has been talking about for a while, which is the revenue share on game stores. Something that Steam has been criticized about. Jim Sterling, all the rest of them have been going on about for years now, right? So they pivoted, created a store, offered revenue share, have started buying developers off the back of that. It's genius that what they've done. I have no qualms against the Epic Store. Okay, besides their last sale, which is deviousness to a max, and that is scummy behavior, and I do not trust
50% off, prices pushed up.
Like that fiasco aside, how they've turned Fortnite into basically they turned their Fortnite success into a Valve competitor. Like that is
but
insane to even think about.
You know what's crazy about it though is like this is a very intentional move from them in the way they've done it. Valve's move into being what they are was completely unintentional. Where Steam actually came from, they needed a way to ship Counter-Strike updates.
Yeah,
and it was literally made as a client so that when they released the retail version of Counter-Strike, they could update it and everybody would get the updates. That's what it was envisioned as, and from there it became a store. So like theirs was almost accidental, whereas you look at that as Epic Games and go, well, they've been doing that now for what's it like 11 years, 12 years. How could we do it better?
Yeah, 100. And I think to the point you guys are saying, I think it's so important, and Rich and Carmen, what you guys are saying, it's such an important point that like Epic did really well with the sort of rush of success they have to the game. To the point now, if you look at Apex, something we've just spoken about at the beginning of the podcast, Apex had arguably the same level of sort of success initially that sort of Fortnite had, in terms of like there was a huge pickup, people loved it, there was a lot of great praise given to the game. But has Apex gotten to the level that that Fortnite has? No, they haven't. So to that point, Epic Games did really well in terms of sort of taking a game and going, boom, here's how we're going to pull this and push it to a completely new level. And that's something I think a lot of developers can kind of learn, and as well as sort of sponsors can kind of see how to do it right.
We're typing each other messages. We're enjoying this. It's like post-it notes in class.
Ax just said yes, Queen to me, and I'm changing that to my Twitter name for the week. I fucking love it.
No, he did
yes,
not.
Queen.
I totally did.
I got my silver jersey on and everything.
Wow.
I'm the Queen now, bitch.
Wow.
Well, I think we'll bookend that particular section. That's over. International esports. We spoke about local stuff too, which is quite cool. We don't stick to the rules, guys. Feck the rules, as it turns out. But yeah, I wanted to rec Financial Mail's article. I so wanted to, but I guess I'll leave that for next week because I was reading it while you guys were talking, getting progressively more annoyed at how stupid it is. So if you would like to read it, go to businesslive.co.za and read SA's flourishing gaming scene. The local gaming scene is flourishing, creating career opportunities undreamt of a generation ago. So my take on that is you too could be a bum mooching off your folks.
Woo! Hot take.
I feel personally
attacked. So there for it. I'm so there for
Anyway,
it.
I had to do that quickly. We'll move on. Yeah, there's some guys who can make money, but most of them can't. So this is actually bullshit. But anyway.
Speaking of local, though, people can also make a lot of money being racist, apparently.
Ooh.
Apparently, and here's the thing, and I'm gonna go in, right. Okay, last week last episode we really spoke about this last week, racism in Dota scene, and it's been a huge sort of spotlight thrown onto the Dota scene globally, and I mean that we did a lot. Unfortunately, it's like a limited time for this week's episode, and so in terms of the scene,
I'll get the international one next week. Don't worry.
Yeah, globally in terms of solo, and we are aware of that as well. So we will absolutely talk about that next week in more depth. But it's just that last week we spoke about Chad sort of bringing sort of
ACG,
a lot of racial slurs, and right, and this week it happened literally today. I mean, the day that we're recording. Muzzy, who is someone who's not shy about being in the spotlight in terms of negative behavior in terms of local esports. So there are screenshots, and there will be an article on Esports Central. So by the time you've actually listened to this podcast, whether it's be on YouTube or through the Spotify or the audio links, Chris House is writing an article about this as well, sort of just detailing the issues. So you'll be able to read that article before we get into it. But for those of you that don't read that article beforehand, basically Muzzy is a local Dota player that's been in the spotlight for negative behavior for a long time. And he basically, long story short, basically kind of just throwing, kafirs, calling people kafirs in a.
I'll bring up the screenshot. Actually,
word for word.
I'll literally bring it up here, guys. It's on screen.
I mean, Ax will bring that up then, so you guys can kind of sort of watch out for yourself. And I mean, again, like I said, like we spoke about last week's episode, it's not what they've said. You can see that for yourself. It's on the public domain. It's out there for you to watch or to read for yourself. But it just goes back to the same thing we talked about. Like, this is not new for the Dota scene. And it's not new for the local scene either. And again, like last episode, we've spoken about how there's been various clips that have been put out by people going, whether it be CSGO, whether it be Dota, like locally, this is not new. And what made me kind of annoyed with Chad's sort of statements last week is like, no, but, majority of the Dota scene is actually like, really nice guys. I feel like if in 2 weeks you have two massive situations of legitimate racism and racist comments being made, and people are not like really, it's that common that in 2 weeks you have two issues. I think to me that's a problem.
And your point about Chad kissing ass about, the Dota community is so nice. That was ass kissing because prior to his fucking screenshots coming out, Glenn, he was complaining on Twitter about how Goliath Gaming and Muzzy are harassing him, or maybe it was just Muzzy, and how if the White Rabbit Gaming have boosters, and they were, I saw them, I have screenshots of all these guys fucking taking shots at Chad and harassing him and shit when all the drama was going on. So I know, I've been involved in Dota scene like the most active from a talent point of view for the last two scene. I was fucking in there, and I can tell you, there's a lot of nice guys. Oak's got your back. And I know today, if I put something out there and a motherfucker tunes me, SA Dota has my back. But at the same time, I can tell you, SA Dota is also toxic as fuck. And racism is no new fucking thing. Last week when me and Sneh were on the podcast and we said, we're not surprised. Like, you guys were like super high and mighty about it, but we weren't surprised. Like, this is the norm. When we said, like, maybe people listened last week and heard when we said we can name like 7-8 people in the scene and that's like tops. We would be surprised if it happened. This is it. I think, Muzzy is I think the utmost extreme case, because he's probably the most, in my experience, most toxic person I've dealt with in SA Dota. But like, fuck, dude, why? It's now they've shown why racism is systematic. Because how do you type FUK words in a European ranked game?
Yeah.
What European in their right mind even fucking understands that? So that means you
that's my
think
issue.
the lowest. Yeah, it's disgusting. And at this point, like, Rich, I know in Sargon's article they addressed that you guys put chat on probation and stuff, but like, I think at this point I would like to see Mettlestate like tweet an official stance on racism in SA Dota. In the second case, I mean, we spoke about it a bit before the podcast started. What's your take?
The deep
world-weary man.
Get it all.
I have been someone that has been trying to promote local Dota since 2005. Like my hardest, right?
Yeah.
Working my hardest to get like local Dota on the international scene, from player to competitor to tournament organizer to like server admin to whatever I could do to help. So like every time one of these things come up, I'm just going, did I like waste 10 years of my life doing this? You know, that's always the question that pops up. But obviously I literally found out about this as I was coming on the podcast. I've been on the phone with the rest of the team about it while we've been speaking, because obviously it's literally information that's coming to light as is. I mean, Muzzy has shown multiple instances where he knows that he doesn't seem to know how to behave.
But Rich, to your point,
that's all I can say.
But to your point, I think it's one side of it we didn't really discuss in the last episode, which there's just so much to talk about. But on the other side, there are so many people trying so hard to build the local scene, and people will bitch and moan about there's not enough tournaments of this, and there's not enough money going into that, and again, those are topics we have discussed at length about in this podcast. So yes, on the one side, there is the fact that just racism on its own obviously goes without saying. I mean, that is shit. If you disagree, fuck off and listen to this podcast. That is not okay, and that goes without saying, right? But I think on the other side of it, there are so many people of their nationality, doesn't matter, racial, it doesn't matter. People are trying to build the local scene here as best they can with what we do have available. So when you go on and fucking make these kind of statements and do this kind of, create this kind of behavior that is public, that brands will see, and I'm going to guarantee you right now, I would bring this to brands and go, you cannot pick this kind of a player right now because here's what they've been doing.
Don't invest in Goliath Gaming because this is the guy who
people. It's true. People think that sponsors don't see this. We've had clients come to us and go, we want to invest, but
I show this to my clients. I deliberately will go to clients and show them this is what's been happening right now. Here is what is going on. Here are the people you're not supposed to work with. But the point is, to your point, Rich, it's what makes it even almost just as bad as just the fact that it's just racism is that you're tearing down so much work that everybody else in the scene has been putting in. Because we're not a big scene. Yes, we all pretend like we were, and we've spoken about it in the past now, this episode already. It's starting to kind of normalize to like a more realistic level. So we don't have a lot to work with. So when something like this happens, it hurts everyone, and not just in Dota. It just goes, exactly. This is South African esports. So when Mettlestate, when ACGL, when Zombie Gamer, when whoever now wants to go to a sponsor and go, hey, we're like a great community or a great brand. We've been doing X, Y, and Z for like this many times, and we've done nothing wrong. That sponsor is going to go, but there's this guy called Muzzy, there's this guy called Chad, there's this guy called X, Y, and Z. They did this. It hurts the scene overall, and there's nothing we can do about it because you decided to be a fucking asshole. And that's what pisses me off more than anything. It's people that are putting time, effort, and actual money, their own money, into trying to grow the scene, and you thought it was okay to go fucking call someone a cafe because you got upset because you're fucking in a game. Woo! Now actual people are losing fucking money. Fuck off. That's not okay. It's really not.
In July 2017, I made a video called Twitter Drama Breaking News, right, on my YouTube channel. July 2017. What sparked this whole drama was myself, Odu, and was it Schlinks? Was it Schlinks? It was Schlinks with us on the podcast. We got interviewed by an international guy named Blue Oceans, who was the manager of Donny's team called Clever.
I remember this, yeah.
I wrote an official response to your...
Yeah, it was brilliant. I liked it, Richard. I fucking liked it. And the thing that sparked the drama was the guy asked us, Blue Oceans asked us to describe the SA Dota scene in one word. Schlinks, as a joke, said... trash, like he said he's pulling a Donny, and because you know the historical Donny calling SA Dota trash. And then Odu said clowny. I think clowny was the best description of Dota 2 SA I could have ever hear. Okay, and then that was so that was what was said. Muzzy then tweets, "Oh my god, top local Dota pros tweeting, saying Dota scene is trash and clowny. What is the businessman going to think?" Well, I'll throw the same question back to you, Muzzy. Now, what the fuck is he going to think when you're dropping K words in ranked games? And now, again, it's systematic. You two guys, Chad and Muzzy. I was tame last week on the racism podcast because it was like we had to address the issues. But now I'm fucking mad because there's these two top level pros. Just in terms of like Dota skill alone, losing these two guys in the scene is a big hit. Now think about the whole fucking ecosystem. What does the businessman think, Muzzy? What does your team Goliath Gaming think? What does the rest of the scene in the likes of VS Gaming think? I want to hear official statements at this point.
But Rich, also just on your point, I mean,
so just to calm you for 1 second, from a Mettlestate standpoint, we ACG is not allowed to play in the Syntec Masters. He was removed. He is not allowed to play in the, he is not allowed to play in the WSG qualifiers. He is if after, I mean, this looks to be true. If it is true, Muzzy will be removed from the Syntec Masters. He will no longer be allowed to play in the WSG qualifiers. That is a huge ramification on both of those players. I'm sure that I'll still speak to the team, but I'm sure that we will release something official as well. Obviously, our standpoint, we follow ESIC. We do not stand for racism in any or all forms. Anyone that knows Mettlestate knows that we are all about the love. We give everyone hugs. Like everyone that comes into our office, we give hugs. Like that is, we have no tolerance for. It's 2019. Like let's.
But what I want to ask, and not about the statement, because again, like I said, I mean, you guys are your precedent has been set. You guys are always very strong to sort of clear out if it's cheating, racism, all of those things. I mean, that goes without saying. It's not really what this is now, but just in terms of, and that's why I want to ask you from an organizer point of view. And I mean, I've sort of mentioned my view, and it's kind of like, me being sort of like as a, journalist in the esports scene. But for you guys, like, how does it impact you? Like, I mean, and, obviously mentioned names of specifics, but, do sponsors then come up to you and go, well, we've just sort of seen this? Or if you have sort of a, tournament being set up and now a player now kind of, reacts in this or acts in this kind of manner where you obviously, based on, obviously your precedent you already set, and the values that you all personally and professionally stand by, you obviously have to now go, cool, if this is legitimate, you'll do your investigation, you clear it out, you go, cool, this is real, and you make your stand. How does it affect you for you as like a tournament organizer in a scene that already is so fragile and simple, just so small? Like, I mean, how does it impact you in a general sense?
To be quite frank, like, I don't think we'll ever be able to sell Dota again at this point. That's especially after the last 2 weeks, if we're having continued incidents like this, I mean, and the drama is sprouting in the Dota community almost once a month at this point. It's some or another drama. It's this person, it's that person. We've had clients come to us, literally, we might suggest a game. Cool. Yeah. We're looking to do this. They come back to us, go, listen, we did some research. We've seen these. I mean, and a lot of time it's documented, like on Esports Central, on a quick Google search will get you a lot of these Twitter forays and threads where things go haywire. Like, so it's not difficult for companies to go out there and see that. Like, so it's something that I said. I said to someone, if you're at the top, if you're in one of the top teams, and you do something like this, you portray to everyone else and everyone around you that action is okay to do. Yeah. Even if you're apologetic for it afterwards, your initial reaction, your gut instinct was to go to that place. which you've told anyone that looks up to you, anyone that's an aspiring player that go, oh, okay, to be toxic is cool. This is something that's been in the Dota community for a long time now, and we're seeing the results of that now on a regular basis, locally and internationally. Toxicity and this kind of thing was even promoted by Valve. I mean, even like a little bit more innocently with their little tropes and their like horns and things that you could put in the game, but like trolling and sort of being toxic nonetheless, right?
Hey,
so
that's
like
banter, that's different.
Banter, toxicity, people will spam it in games or whatever, but like it's the same intent in that it's been something that's been promoted for a long time in Dota to the point that it's actually now getting out of hand on all scales.
And I completely agree with that. I mean, and that's something. Sorry, just quick, and that's something. Obviously, we're gonna when we kind of go next episode into the sort of the international scene of Dota, because funny enough, but they're very much kind of going through the same sort of self-introspection and soul searching, globally, with like some of the top players in the world are actually dealing with the kind of level of. So for me, I feel like with Dota, it's the community and the style of the community, the culture within the community is everything's always been banter before everything else. And everyone used to make fun of League of Legends because, right? And I know, like, it's my point of view. I get it. Like, and I know, Carl, you will have something to say, and I'll give you your time to speak. But I feel like I'm not surprised that Dota went this far about it right now. And yeah, we're talking about things locally right now. And this year was last week, and then it's this week, and it's been times before that as well. But I think that the culture that Valve tried to nurture within Dota was like free speech and just be yourself. But they wanted to trust the players to. I know, I'm always done. They wanted to trust the players to go cool. Like, trust the players to go cool. Yes, be yourself. And there's a bit of banter, a little of anger every now and then. But I think that I'm going to say I am not surprised that it is this prevalent in Dota.
This is a dirty prerogative to push, Glenn, in this case. Because you could have just...
Right.
You see, Dickie's point about once a month occurrence or that kind of thing, like, oh, is this what happens in Dota once a month? Is a big drama thing, or is there a big racist thing? Or is big? Well, actually, if you look at racism within South African Dota 2, it's an almost everyday occurrence. Log on to Dota 2 South Africa and go look at those groups. There will be a screenshot of a racist comment. There will be a guy saying, "Yo, Oaks, this is not cool."
I actually muted the Facebook group because it was getting so freaking like.
You know what the next 100 comments are going to be, Glenn? It's going to be, "Oh, but you being a snowflake. Oh, but what about white farmers? But what about..." It's like, no, it's the majority of this SA Dota community, I would say.
Sorry, but that's what... So that, if I wasn't clear, so that's what I was trying to say. To me, I feel like the culture has been nurtured within Dota versus...
No, it hasn't been nurtured within Dota. What country do you live in, Glenn?
By me, a racist scandal like this has happened in League of Legends. On a scale that has happened to Dota.
I don't even see a tweet about League of Legends South Africa, my friend.
It does not happen on the scale of Dota.
Actually, guys, let's not go down this road because we're gonna get a little bit distracted. So, I'd actually like to say a few things on this. I want to bring up the tweets. You guys have the link to the tweets, so actually just look at it. But I want to point out a couple things on this tweet actually, which I think maybe bears noting, shall we say? So, first off, this Twitter account is brand new, 1 follower. Probably was, if I had to guess, it was probably created today. Only tweet, in fact, is this. Only 2 tweets is this. So I'd say this is probably expressly created to actually bring this to light. The game in question, if you open the link that's over here, it was actually 7 months ago. So somebody's gone back and found this. Now, we saw some stuff around that whole ACG thing where he was saying that Muzzy had done these sort of things, and it seems very conveniently that that is the case. And I'm not saying this to condone what is being said. Please don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that circumstantially, this is something from the past. Now, if you look through the tweets, there's some very, very strange things here. Obviously, we had Mettlestate being tagged, Sargon from Esports Central, Muzzy, Goliath Gaming's asking, thanks for bringing this to our attention. How do we find out more information? And
but just like for people, like Muzzy is under the Goliath Gaming.
Yes, of course. That is the case. So here, Goliath Gaming's reply to Anthony and L asking, "Is this for real? We believe this incident happened more than 7 months ago, at which time said player was disciplined, and we don't tolerate that conduct at all. We're waiting for Pete Pomp, real name unknown, to clarify, as there's no date stamp on the chat. And then Sargon says, click the Open Dota link. So there's a few peculiarities there. But number one, that statement to say that you internally dealt with it 7 months ago, fuck off. Honestly, that anybody can say that. You can say this thing that happened at indeterminate time. We disciplined the guy. You don't have to specify it. You don't have to go into detail on it. And I mean, I don't have anything against Goliath Gaming specifically, but just to respond to it and say we've already dealt with it. So don't worry. No, it's a more serious thing than that. The statute of limitations, in my estimation, and a lot of people's estimations, have not run out on this. It's 7 months ago, and whatever you did, I mean, maybe he's sorry. Maybe, I don't know, mowed the lawn at Goliath HQ for 6 months. Who knows? But at the end of the day, publicly, we haven't seen anything about it. So saying that he's served his time or whatever isn't enough. Definitely not enough, in my opinion. The whole thing around it seems a little fishy. The timing related to last week almost comes across a little bit like, oh, well, this guy's got exposed, so now we're going to expose this guy. And I'm not going to speculate as to why, but it does seem a little suspicious. And maybe we will never know how and why, but still, again, it's too convenient.
Yeah, and this is why I said we are going to investigate first, right? Because this is like... This is why we always have to follow due process to get these things to get done. That's why, because exactly. I mean, it looks a little bit suspicious to me. I don't know.
That being said,
I would have to investigate now. Thanks for the rest of the evening.
It's still on Open Dota, opendota.com. The match link is there, so the information is there, and there's other things that are said there that are pretty freaking awful as well. So, I mean, it's indisputable that this was said by the player in question. It's just that it wasn't said this week.
Open Dota account. It's clearly Muzzy's account.
So I mean that's proven. So I guess from our side, we have to wait and see what guys at Mettlestate and the various other tournament organizers are going to do about it. Yeah. And also what Goliath Gaming are going to do. And maybe they didn't like me saying fuck you, and I'm sorry if you didn't like that, but that kind of response on Twitter just it isn't going to cut the mustard for the community, unfortunately.
Yeah, and you can't say no timestamp or just open the Open Dota link. Then it's your player. So you're telling me, so what Goliath Gaming are telling me 7 months ago, they told Muzzy, this is unacceptable and we're punishing you for it. And now 7 months later, they say, okay, we did punish him. And, but did he really do that? It's like, I'm going to say this Pete guy or this Twitter, it's like a Smurf account. It's wrong, right? The way it's happening is wrong. And the same thing with Chad last week. Like when Chad says something, then to rebuke Chad or revoke his dispute what he had to say, you go and shame him with the racism thing. The intentions, I'm going to say, are not pure. I know it's not pure. But at the same time, we can't get distracted from the real issue here. That's just my take.
Yeah, the intentions don't change what was done.
Yeah. And that's what we mentioned last week. I mean, we said it with Chad. It did look like someone went, oh, okay, cool, we're in a fight. And it was part of what we had said. The issue, one of the big issues with local esports is racism isn't exposed to go, this is wrong and we need to deal with it. It gets used as a weapon, which is really just so disingenuous because it's just kind of like, oh, I'm only going to expose the stuff. So basically, if someone now is only exposed to stuff that is 7 months old, that person that is exposed, and we don't know who that is, like we said, it's a new account and everything's sort of being investigated. And, as Rituals said, they're going to have to do investigation. No one knows hard facts other than this was said by Muzzy, right? That is a fact. Who exposed it for what reason, we don't know. But if you had sat on this for 7 months, you're not a saint that you decided to expose it now. Right. And again, based on what we've been saying, there could be speculation that could have, with Chad from last week, kind of, that whole thing. And now this could be a retaliation thing. The point is, when you're bringing up these issues of racism in the scene, and that's what it's common locally, it's never used as this is wrong, we need to deal with this. It is used as a weapon. And to me, that makes it almost even worse. Almost as worse as the one making racist comments, because you're going, I never gave a shit until it was useful for me.
So you think that guy's like, ooh, I'm going to sit on this now, wait for you to make a mistake.
Absolutely. I feel like we can strongly deduce that fact based on the fact that you sat on this for 7 months. And only after Muzzy got called out last week in the thing, only now it got brought to light. Like,
or he went and looked for it.
Why did you wait
3
that long?
games.
Yeah, I think he went to look for it, but still, the point still
Oh,
stands.
no, sure. But
yeah.
and that's my issue. And I think we've spoken about the issue with logo. And again, it's what we've all spoken about. The worst part about it all at the end of the day is, yes, Reddit's bad and, being shit out of people's shit. You're hurting a scene that is still trying so hard to grow, with so many people putting time and energy and money and for example, like, look, you can look at the order, like Mettlestate, like DeMoNiK, they all have to go now and have to sit down. Firstly, not spend time building a new tournament or whatever. They have to sit down and have to go review everything, go research, get conclusive evidence. That's firstly time that's being fucking wasted. And at the end, you have to ban a play that is already a good play in the scene. I mean, good player, not to justify, but it's shit for everyone. Everyone loses at the end of the day.
No, absolutely. I think we've said a lot on this topic in the last couple of weeks. So, Richard, do you have anything else on this topic that you want to say from Mettlestate side or yourself personally?
No, I think I've pretty much got ourselves covered. Gonna have to look into it, see if delve deeper.
Yeah, for sure.
Because information's still coming to light, literally as we're recording. So
yeah, exactly. This always happens for some reason on our podcast. All this stuff happens while we're recording.
This is going to be my day tomorrow. As a result of this, I have to follow procedure. I have to follow up. I have to investigate. I have to go and speak to the players, speak to the team, speak to the organizations. Try find. Speak to my social people, write up letters if need be, disciplinary letters. Like it itself creates.
Yeah,
work.
that size speaks volumes there, man. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that this is going to happen to you. Did you have something there, Camille? You look like you.
Yeah, one more thing on that. And I mean, we're talking about the implications here in the esports scene because we're esports central. But just think about the people that you are subjecting your hate towards. You live in South Africa. It's the majority of our country. You attacking. It's a hate speech. What ACG and now Mazi has committed. And again, go to Dota 2 SA. You have these pro players things coming out. Who in their right mind, a person of color is going to be like, a black person is going to be like, I want to play Dota now.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen, and that's a shame.
That's why I started playing CS:GO, and a large part of it. I enjoy the game. I love the tactical aspect of it. And I'm not going to really go into details because now
you need to play with me, Glenn. I'll protect you.
But again, to that point, it's what Nadi was saying. People were sort of sexism. It's like you have to limit how much you enjoy a game to protect yourself. Like basically, if I want to get CS:GO, I must play with my friends now because that is the only way I'm going to have an enjoyable experience. But it's like, no. What if it is just a Saturday morning? I just want to play. I just want to jump into a game of matchmaking and play by myself with a bunch of 4 randoms. I have to go into that game knowing that there's a high chance, and I'm going to fucking say a high chance, that I'm going to have to deal with racism. And it sucks. And then, like I said, it's a big reason why I actually stopped playing CSGO. It was a game I really did enjoy. But, I mean, there were other reasons as well, so it's not the primary reason, but part of it was like, it's just not worth it. And yeah, it sucks. It really does for everybody, the entire scene, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to more, shall we say, friendly pastures. Let's hope anyway. Things that are not as loaded and as horrible and as just generally shit. Let's move on to Rush, which is actually a pretty cool event. Of course, we were mentioning it a bit previously as well. Now we'll see Rush happening with actual tournaments happening that we know about, not just sort of vagaries like last week when we were talking about it. It wasn't really very clear what's actually going on. It's just there are these games and there you go, folks. I guess probably because they had to hit some kind of deadline on getting their press release out for their sponsors. But as of this week now, we actually do know that Mettlestate will be running the tournaments at Rush, which is welcome news. Now we know who it is. Now we know who to shout at, who to get angry with.
Hi.
Shout at that guy over there. Shout at Richie right over there.
Yeah,
I have been creating 6 tournaments. Yes.
Yes. So
for the past couple of days. Yes, we are hosting a Fortnite mobile competition.
Boo! Sorry, I'm
Rush.
just doing that for everyone else.
Everybody got
Anyone just want to point out, all prizes are sponsored by Vodacom for you. So you have spoken
mobile
about this.
company.
Just take it or leave it. It is what it is.
A
we
mobile
are hosting
operator.
we are hosting a FIFA competition on PS4. That's again. We've got some cool things happening with that. That's going to be really amazing. And then we're having all 4 WSG qualifiers on the big main stage at Rush. So that's going to be StarCraft 2, Hearthstone, Dota 2, and CSGO.
Yeah.
Okay, so on that, one question on the CSGO. It's only regular teams, not female teams, right? We didn't have.
There is no
last...
female specific. We're not doing any female specific qualifiers. No.
Okay, yeah, that was the case for the previous one as well. I just wondered. Okay, no, that's cool. I'm really happy to hear that you guys are handling it, because it does mean that we, as a community, can have some confidence that there'll be something quality to watch, that the coverage will be good, and maybe even Carmel might cast, eh?
Hey, I hope so. Dude, Dickie, please put me on the FIFA mic at some point that weekend, dude. I will have so much fun. I've been waiting for so long to just shout about FIFA at some point in SA Dota. Any fucking FIFA TO. I don't have to pay me or anything. Just give me a mic and let me shout.
Sure, you've already talked yourself out of a job. You really should at this comment.
Really. But what I will say
just what a cast.
We spoke about it in the previous podcast. We spoke about it. It was one of the times we even brought up, mobile gaming can be a thing in a country where esports is still growing, and so I mean, Rich, you'll definitely know this, that when the Fortnite sort of mobile thing got announced, everyone, people lost their shit. People were like, what? There's no Call of Duty. You're gonna do a kids mobile game instead of Call of Duty. Welcome to the business world. Vodacom. Have you seen Vodacom sponsor?
You know what? I don't even get angry. Those people that are angry are not operating from a state of awareness where they understand business, where they understand how the business world works. How can you be angry at them for not understanding something when they're like a 14, 15-year-old
because
child?
Because they're fucking adults. So yes.
I mean, okay, if you're like a 30-year-old adult, that's something different. But if it's like a 50,
to understand.
Yeah,
Vodacom is a cell phone company. Come on.
Yeah, let's not retread that though. We spoke about that on the podcast last week. So I mean, you guys can go and hear us rant about that for a bit. But yeah, I think overall what you guys are doing is great. It's great to see Rush back, because I think maybe there were some worries after last year that it might not be back. So good to see it actually back happening at Times Square at Midland. So that is what's the date? The 23rd of June, is it?
28th,
29th, and 30th of June.
28th, 29th.
Yeah.
Oh. Sure, I got it right last week. For some reason, I couldn't remember what I said last week.
You went 23rd, like a whole week in advance.
No, I actually have something else on the 23rd. So in my mind, it's an important day.
Russia playing checkers and axtremes is playing 4D chess, dude.
4D backgammon.
Yeah. So one question on WSG there. I see WSG themselves haven't announced their next global finals yet. Do you you guys behind the scenes? Obviously, you don't have to say the dates or anything. Like, you've obviously been in communication with them, and it is definitely happening next year, right? Because I mean, we've been to Rush before, where a qualifier was held for a Phantom tournament. So just want to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Rush is owned by not Rush. WSG is owned by the Alibaba Group, who are not short of money. I'm 100% certain there will be a WSG next.
Okay.
We have to, as Mettlestate, we have to get clearance to even host the qualifiers in the first place, which was one of the things I had to do to be even able to get this at Rush. Obviously, we wanted to be on land final, so we had to get approval from them. So even though we don't know the exact dates or where it's going to be, because we've got approval from them, it must be happening next year.
Fantastic. That warms my heart, DeMoNiK, because, again, we did see a Phantom qualifier for a fake tournament in 2017. So, ESWC apparently wasn't an Electronic Sports World Cup. It was a cup for French teams. And we had a qualifier for it.
I can promise you, I will never do more work than I need to at the moment. So hosting a qualifier for nothing, complete fuck that. That's all I'm going to say.
So the other question, are we going to get Red Bulls at the event? Okay, reference
Will you?
went over the head. Okay.
On that bombshell of a note.
Anyway, it's okay. So, for the players,
Terrible, honestly.
I have no shame in throwing shade. I really don't care. I live under shade. I wear a hat all the time, so I don't give a fuck. Basically, is really where it's coming from. Okay, so that's really good to hear. I'm really glad to hear that there's a cool tournament happening and we can actually get excited about it. We can hype it going into it. There are obviously cash prizes involved for for the teams qualifying as well. I think it's 250 Rand per player to enter the tournament. So anybody who wants to enter, go over to mettlestate.com, and I would imagine it's /rush esports or something like that.
I believe it's just mettlestate.com/rush. Otherwise, if you just go to mettlestate.com, our menu, go down there. The Rush page has the FIFA and Fortnite tournaments, and the WSG qualifiers are all grouped into one page as well. So just follow the steps, click the buttons, and you'll get yourself entered in no time.
Nice and easy does it. Okay, so something to look out for, and when you're not on the podcast, we're going to shit on it. I'm just letting you know.
I listen to everything.
No, we won't. I mean, it all looks pretty good to me. So, the last thing we'll mention that you guys are involved with right now is Syntech Masters, which I believe is sort of in the stages of wrapping up the group stages. How's that been going?
So we've just finished our initial seeding qualifier to get into the divisions. I haven't released the groups yet. Obviously, new information has become available, so now I have to go and look at things if I'm qualifying teams for Twitter. Before we go forward, so should be the official group stage will start most likely in 2 weeks. 2 weeks time. So that's and it will be a Swiss bracket, so it'll be done pretty quickly. And then in August, it's about the second week, is going to be the LAN final, where we're going to have teams come into the Mettlestate house, come to the Mettlestate house, and we're going to have the summit style vibe, where we're going to sit them down on the couch and let them cast games and provide insight, which should be either entertaining or toxic. Either way, it's going to be fun.
A mixture of both, like it always is with Dota 2.
Yeah, with Dota 2 and CSGO, we will always get a mixture of both. So
wouldn't want it any other way, except minus the racism.
I have no doubt that we will get some amazing personalities on that couch. I mean, I'm sure Tulani will show up at some point. He's always around when things are happening.
I'm going to crash the couch.
Glenn, if you are welcome to crash our couch. I'll bring the gang in real life. We'll eat Pizza Huts on stream, because it's what we enjoy.
Also, did anyone notice, actually, just to bring that up there, because obviously, bring up top trends in the world. Turtleneck gang here, though, just going to put that out there again, just to say.
Again, the third time.
Rich, just so everyone can notice that Rich now, obviously, turtleneck gang.
Show your Nike sneakers, things of value, Glenn.
And just leave it, let it go. You've started a whole thing on Twitter. I get shit on all the time for it. So, no.
But it's true. That's the thing,
I went into his wallet, took out his credit card, gave Nike 4,000 Rand for some ugly ass pair of sneakers, and fucking started a trend on Twitter. I'm so sorry, dude.
Woo. Dota Funkers.
Funko Punch.
Oh, there it is. Wow, that literally the last 30 seconds now.
Just in case you thought I wasn't a Dota fan, I do have a Funko Punch. Shout out to Frank, who got it from me.
We just shouted out 7 different brands now.
I think that's got to be our show, guys. We've actually gone way over time, so we do appreciate everybody listening, watching, and absorbing it through osmosis if you're an amoeba. I mean, and based on some of the comments we've seen on Twitter, some of our listeners are literally amoebas, so sorry for that, but, one of those things. We love you nonetheless, and we appreciate you guys listening. So if you do want to check out more Esports Central, go to www.esportscentral.co.za. You can read articles from the likes of Carmel, myself as well. Sargon will definitely be putting out something by the time this podcast comes out around the whole Muzzy situation, so look out for that. Our social media tags below our names on screen and also in the description if you're listening on Spotify or iTunes or Anchor or Podbean or wherever it might be, some obscure website like the Nexus, wherever you can follow us all. So, but the one guy that I will actually give a plug here, just because he's extra special, is DeMoNiK. Go to @DeMoNiK. Follow the guy. He's one of the OGs. He knows what he's on about, and he works for a really cool company. So definitely give him a follow. And definitely give us a follow if you haven't done that yet. Next episode will be coming your way next week. That would be for the 6th of June, 2019, episode 45. Also, some kind of anniversary. I don't know what 45 is, but
halfway through the year, basically, almost.
yeah, almost. Well, that would be just past halfway through the year. So we thank you for sticking with us. Stick with us for the rest of the year. Have yourselves a great day, evening, morning, or whatever time of day it might be. Cheers, guys.
Goodbye.